Hi, I'm Justin Mormon.
And I'm Katie Thornton, and this is the Re-Education of Schools podcast,
where we have open, honest conversations about how to better understand social emotional learning, trauma-informed care, the whys behind student behavior, and how to help kids navigate it all as they go through school and life. All right, welcome back to our next episode, Emotional Resilience in Teachers. Before we get started, we, again, really always love it when you give us a review, when you reach out to us, things like that. 5-star review would be great. Easy for me to say. You can always tell when we're deeper into the episodes. It all starts running together. So, no, we would really love so you can't wait till you hear the content that's coming next.
Yeah.
No, but we would love for you to leave us a review. That'd be great. It helps us get the conversation out there to other people and keep the conversation going. So, emotional resilience in teachers. I'm actually pretty excited about this one. I don't know what that means about the other ones that we record when I say that about some of them, but
I think the other ones were more systems oriented for me, and this is more your topic.
Is this more up my alley?
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to start us off then?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Yeah, let's do that.
I would love to. All right. This work isn't easy. So how do we support educators on the ground doing the work? As much as we need to develop student resiliency, it may be more crucial to develop educator resiliency. And I think if you follow Character Strong or their work, one of their core principles is the beliefs are really about the adults, beliefs in kids, and behavior change comes from adult behavior change and not so much the kids. And that's why it's such important for the core preconditions. So let's talk a little bit about what is emotional resiliency.
Yeah. We probably should say pretty early on, we did pull this partially from an article.
Yeah, this is from an Education Week article, and we will link it. We will link it.
We will link it and give credit to the author of that.
Yeah.
But off the top of our heads, we do not have that in front of us right now. But I did want to say that so that we don't forget that.
Yes.
And then we'll go from there. Okay, so what is emotional resilience? So emotional resilience is the ability to adapt, recover, and keep functioning after stress, setbacks, or difficult emotions. It doesn't mean that you don't feel pain, sadness, or frustration. It means you can process those feelings and eventually bounce back instead of just staying stuck. So that's kind of what emotional resilience is. So then some quick characteristics of emotionally resilient people. I thought this was interesting. They can understand what they're feeling and why. They can persevere and believe that they are in control of their lives. They're optimistic. Some of you out there listening, you're like, I hate this person already. Like this is the person I don't like. They don't see themselves as victims. They tend to surround themselves with supportive friends and family, and they tend to have a good sense of humor. And then one of the things about emotional resilience that is mentioned in the article, and also as I did other research on it, that I think is important to also mention here pretty early on, is that emotional resilience can be built. Even if we are all potentially born and raised in ways that leave us with a certain amount of it as an adult, we can actually increase our emotional resilience over time and through practicing different things. What do you have that I missed, Katie?
I actually have this really good quote from the article. Let's hear it. All right. So
from the article, can't stress this enough. From an article we read.
Yeah. No original idea, but I did like this. It says, I've come to the frightening conclusion that I am the decisive element in the classroom. It is my daily mood that makes the weather.
Yeah.
Like how much this impacts. And it also made me the connection. We've done an episode on educator state of mind, and we've done professional development for organizations on that. And I think that's super powerful in terms of the current pressures in education, how we can support educators and talk about emotional resiliency. And then I keep on going back to Stephen Covey's model from his circle of control, circle of influence, and circle of, I forget what the third one is off the top of my head right now, but the circle of control is like what you actually can control, and your attitude and approach to education and going into your job every day impacts the classroom, and that's something you actually can control. You could influence the work of those around you, but you can't control your resiliency going into this.
Yeah. No, I think that's good.
Circle of concern was the third circle.
You got it.
For 300. Thank you.
If everybody's wondering what the third circle is, there a magical third circle? And there is, and it is
circle of concern.
Yeah, there it is.
All right. All right. So why do you...
How many episodes have we recorded today?
I don't know. One too many. We also haven't seen each other in a week, so that goes with that too.
That's right.
All right. Why build emotional resilience among educators? Why is this important?
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. The quote at the start of the article is actually what I had at the beginning of this section.
Oh, wow.
I
Are we
know.
on the same page?
Look at that. But only kind of, because we were off on the sections we used it on.
All right.
But I'm going to repeat it anyway. So I've come to the frightening conclusion that I am the decisive element in the classroom. It's my daily mood that makes the weather. I mean, obviously that stuck out to both of us for a reason. I think partly because it's true, right? I think partly because then that means a lot for why it's important to build emotional resilience among educators, because we drive so much of how things run based off of our mood and where we are at any given point. That can't be overstated. Like in a career that I feel like I've made out of helping students be regulated who struggle mightily to be regulated. That's one of the things that I've learned. Like the more consistent I can be, the better. I mean, that just drives so much. And so it means that at times, I actually think you'll just find this funny. At times it means that I have to like tamp down what I would normally say or do. That's like fun or like being silly or joking around. Like I don't do those things a lot with the students that I work with, because I know that that's also not the most consistent thing. Now, I'm not saying like in a general education classroom, you can't do those things. I just know for like what I do and in kind of an extreme situation, I have to like go so much to like a center spot that doesn't deviate into like heavy joking around and being silly, even though I can do that with my own kids, or I can do that with kids in some other kind of, forum that I'm in. But in my classroom, when I'm working with students that really struggle with that, that's something that I've learned. So anyway, all that to say, like this idea that my just way of being drives how the classroom's going to be, that's 100% true. Now, it doesn't mean like with complete accuracy, that's how it's going to go. But I can tell you, it's the most deciding factor, like unquestionably, it is the most deciding factor. And that's hard to hear potentially if you're like in a room and you're like, it feels chaotic a lot. And you're like, but maybe part of it is how you're interacting. Okay, so why else is it important to build emotional resiliency among educators? Well, let me tell you what else I wrote down. So our emotional resilience, if our emotional resilience is weak, we're never going to have a consistent feeling classroom for our students to operate in. So I think that that's super important. Again, another thing that we say a lot, if I don't know which Mr. or Mrs. whoever I'm getting when I walk in any given day, like that's terrifying. Just like if it was that way with your significant other, that you're like, I don't know which, spouse I'm getting today. Like that's rough way to live. If that's the way with your closest friend, or maybe it was that way with your parents growing up, you kind of have an idea, or just a teacher.
Is that what it's like working with me every day?
That's what I wonder every time that I'm wondering. I'm like, which Katie is it going to be? But the more consistent that we are, like the more students are going to obviously be able to learn. And if we want to go even one step further than that, which isn't necessarily like where we necessarily usually fall as far as talking about it a lot, but one of the things we've seen, like the more consistency students experience because of educator emotional resilience, things like test scores go up. More consistency with what their academic performance is. And while that's not like the goal, kind of in a way it is the goal, because like we want educating kids to be that is the goal, right? That's kind of why we exist. And so you get the best out of students academically when there is consistency from the teachers. And there can only be consistency from the teachers when they have an emotional resilience that's built up to where when they have really hard times, they can bounce back from them. What do you got?
I was talking from an administrative perspective. The article spent some time talking about the need for administrators to prioritize this work is to take care of teachers, think about the culture and climate, the sense of belonging, psychological safety, the ability to have freedom to express themselves without being like shut down or criticized by your administrator, those kind of things all build emotional resiliency, and that it really should be part of our professional development plan. And I think we have done a good job. The building has done a good job about putting those kind of things into the professional development plan or layout for the year. So I think to really transform the system, the author of this article really talks about how much this needs to be a priority for administration moving forward for this work to work.
Yeah, we mentioned it, I think, in the last episode. Maybe it was 2 episodes ago. I can't remember. But we mentioned the fact that, like, trauma-informed work in general, which this would kind of fall under that, right?
Yeah.
In some regard. But that what gets missed so often is the educator side of that. Like, how are we making sure that educators are being taken care of, and we're having trauma-informed approaches, I guess, if that's how you want to put it, towards the adults in our building as well. And there's obviously always a balancing act that comes with that. I think where time can be spent, how much time even there is to spend, all of those kind of things, and then money, of course, as well. But I think that this goes into so much a part of that. Like, if we can build up teacher resiliency, we're going to have a better culture and climate as a whole, and we're going to be able to do that by taking care of our educators overall.
Yeah. Okay. How can emotional resilience be developed?
Yeah, this is a question everybody's been asking. So there are actually lots of lists out there. If you search this, tons of lists. There are a lot of common things on the lists. So I pulled a lot from lists that I searched. I also pulled some from the article as well. And this just made them into a big list that I'll talk about. So journal.
This is your list?
This is my list.
What are you calling the list?
Justin's list of emotional resiliency developmentation.
Okay.
I think all those are words, and they all make sense in the order I said them.
Okay.
So
what's number one?
Number one on the list. Well, and these are in no order.
Okay. It's just
because I don't like
not
the
a
first one.
list.
No, it's
okay.
not. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Number one, but not in any particular order. Journal about stressful experiences or recognize and label your emotions.
Did you just say you didn't like this one?
I don't like the recognize and label your emotions because it's not a strength of mine. But
I would say, but you journal.
I do, yeah, I do like to write sometimes. So that's
you enjoy
helpful,
doing.
yeah.
Okay.
I just don't. I'm not great at recognizing and labeling my emotions
in
like a timely manner.
I just haven't found
can't do it in a timely
diary yet to figure that
that's going to be on purpose. Number two, ask for, I don't know how many are on this list. I wish I did. Okay. Number two, ask for help when needed. I think that's an important one that actually is really hard for people to do.
You have the right culture and climate to do that.
Yeah. And again,
not vulnerable to do that.
Yeah. We just did an episode a couple episodes ago on PLCs, and what a great way to be able to make it seem like you can ask for help is if you have something like that up and running. It just makes it to where people feel like they can ask for help.
Everybody's got somebody, and if you're a good school administrator, you understand who those people are during those times of need for people. To your point.
Go on.
Go on.
Oh, is that it? That was the whole thing? Okay. I thought you were going to say more about that, but I guess not. No. All right. Talk to friends and family about stressful situations. Or in general, having strong relationships, right? This is what this comes down to. Having strong relationships help people bounce back more quickly. So you need to make sure that you're fostering strong relationships just in your life as a whole. That can be with people from work, but I think also having just, again, family and friends outside of work that you can actually go and talk to about stressful situations, super helpful.
Can I just say?
Let's hear it. Let's keep it coming. What else you got?
Okay,
Will we air this episode? We don't know. I guess if you're listening to it, you found out.
If you're in education, I would say probably over 90% of my friend group is educators.
Yeah.
And it is a super annoyance to the spouses of those who just go work, work, work. But it's like this commonality, to your point, to be able to talk through and process people who don't understand this very unique thing that we do. And I would say, like, really all my friends that are in my inner, like, very close inner circle are all educators. Yeah. It's just a unique little bond that you have with people, and you've done all these hard things with. So I like your point. I think sometimes that can be hard, even talking to people about what you're doing in education when they're not in education.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to know.
They're like, you would just fire them. I'm like, we don't do that.
Yeah,
You
that
can't.
actually
That's
can't.
actually not happening. I can actually say that because I work for the public, and you know,
Yeah,
just my husband's in the private sector, and I'm in obviously the public sector. We both are in management, and it's just so different. Like it's hard for him to relate sometimes.
Yeah, different
to those
approaches.
things,
Yeah, because stuff has to work different ways.
Yeah.
Practice growth mindset, right? Which everybody's, I'm sure, well versed in already. But like changing stuff from like I failed to I learned blank for next time, right? Something like that. Focus on what you can control. Goes back to the three circles that you knew really well.
I knew all three of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So focus on what you can control. Break problems down into smaller, achievable steps. I think that's one that sometimes
cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I'm labeling it for you. It's cognitive behavioral therapy.
That sounds right to me. You could have said anything, and I would have probably agreed with you. Yeah. But I think that does make a lot of sense because it can become overwhelming, right? You can look at the whole school year at once, be like, how will I ever get to the end of this? Because this is brand new program, and how will I ever do it? And you got to break stuff into smaller steps to be able to make it through. For me, the one that comes up on pretty much every list that I looked at, and I think is more and more of a big deal that I could see people being annoyed with, probably. But I just increasingly think it's a big deal, is sleep well and exercise. Generally live in a physically healthy lifestyle, and you don't have to be over the top about it. You don't have to have some major, you're going to a gym for like 2 hours a day, but just striving for like smaller, healthier changes. So, like quick insight for people out there. I was like slow to like do any kind of exercise thing because I had grown up playing sports, and I had in high school, there was like, you do all these things, like you do all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
That you go to the weight room for this long, you like train for this long. And then I was an adult and I was like, I don't have time for all of that. And so I just stopped doing anything. And then I was like, but certainly doing something. Eventually I got to the point where I was like, doing something has to be better than doing nothing. People would be like, well, if you're only exercising for like 10 minutes a day, it's not really worth it. Like that could be the mindset. And I was like, but it's got to be better than exercising 0 minutes a day. Like, how could that be worse? It couldn't be worse for me. And so to be able to like pick up like one thing to do a night, like maybe like just take 10 minutes. Like if that's where you're at, like take 10 minutes, make one small switch. Don't like, I'm going to completely change how I eat. You're probably not. You're probably going to be terrible at that. Like almost everybody's terrible at that. But you can be like, I'm going to stop eating this one specific thing that I eat every day, and I'm going to substitute this other thing for it instead. And that's the only thing I'm going to change. Everything else is going to stay the exact same. And then 3 months later, maybe you can add one other thing in that you change, right? Like don't get yourself so overwhelmed with having to like completely change things.
So you're saying educator resiliency comes from just feeling physically and mentally well.
I think that is one that is consistently on every list that I looked at. And that over and over again, I think it's overlooked because people don't like to do it. Well, I think that it's hard. It's really hard to feel like you're supposed to go to the gym for like an hour or get 8 hours of sleep.
Wearing eyeglasses if you needed them on the list?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that would be one that makes on this.
Yeah. Can I just say when we both are just now, we're like the same age. So right after 40, everything falls apart. So those of you under 40, just
live your best life.
Live your best life. Because it's
in a lot of ways, I feel like I'm getting stronger than I've ever been before. So there is that.
Okay.
Anyway, all that to say, I do think that's one of the more important ones because I think if you physically are feeling bad and then you show up to work and you have to also deal with all the things that are happening at work for a teacher.
Irritated and grumpy.
It's one more thing, right? And so just make small changes and give yourself a lot of permission to make a change that's so small that it will not change your life. But know that if you keep making one more small change like that, eventually you're in like a way better spot than you were. The thing I threw out there was 10 minutes of exercise a day, right? If like an easy thing. 10 minutes.
Would you say this is also something important for like parent-teacher organizations or administrators to provide things that make
it available.
Make it available.
Make it available or incentivized, I guess.
For teachers, to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, small changes end up being bigger changes. 60, like it's again, 3,600 odd some minutes of exercise a year if you do it 10 minutes a day.
Go on the Justin Mormon plan.
That ends up
You
being
ready?
60 hours of exercise a whole
Yeah.
year, which is 60 hours is way better than 0 hours. Like that's
Yeah.
so many more hours. Anyway, that's a big one that I've been on over the last handful of years of my life is eating healthier, doing some kind of exercise. I don't do a ton of it, but I actually think it makes a huge difference in what I'm capable of handling on any given day, just because I've set myself up to be in a better spot. So it's on the list, and that's the one that would have been number one for me, but I left it towards the bottom.
Ooh,
And
okay.
then and this is, I thought that's another one from the articles list that I thought was interesting. Know when to get involved and when to let go. So that was a big one from the article. Don't feel like you have to constantly get involved in every single thing. Sometimes there's stuff you got to be able to let go,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
That's hard for an Enneagram 3 like me. I have to be
Yeah.
on every committee and
To
leading
do
them
all of it all the time.
all the time.
All right, what's your list look like? How can emotional resilience be developed?
I don't know if I really have anything much different than yours. I think there's a lot of value for resiliency in terms of mentorship or like general human connection piece.
yeah.
Don't disregard the unconditional positive regard
Yeah.
time. We've done episode on that before, but if you don't put that out because it is really important, I feel like, to have that connection time with people that has nothing to do with work.
Yeah.
Just to have, and I've tried to be more intentional about it this last year.
Yeah.
Especially when there's a lot of like big, heavy stuff going on.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So, all right. Why does this work matter more right now? in
Okay, the
education?
emotional resilience.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, because being a teacher is stressful. Everybody out there listening knows that. Tons of performance-based expectations that are out there with only so much control over some of the factors, right? Like I can't control. There are so many performance-based things, whether it's test scores from students or things like that. We can control what happens in a classroom, but there's also all the parts that you can't control. Goes back to all your circles that you like to talk about so much today. I can't control home, right? Or students' health or their sleep. But the performance on the test is still going to reflect how much sleep they have or if they have a terrible home life or whatever else. And so that's tough, right? There's an increased emotional toll placed on teachers these days because of the decline in other social support systems in our country. Like we talked about that in an episode a while back. I can't even remember where I was trying to think of it when I was putting these notes together, what episode it was or how it even came up. But basically that there's a decline in all these other social structures that existed for kids for years and years and years in our country. And now all of a sudden, like a lot of them don't exist as much, right? So whether it's YMCAs, like obviously still exist, but like, are they as important, like local rec center kind of things? Religious organizations that are way less attended now overall as a country. Like you just have all of a sudden way less. And so that means schools are pushed to the forefront of being like kind of the main thing that is out there. And
Yeah.
there's a toll that comes with that. There's often a ton of time requirements that go beyond our daily allotted hours for work, right? Grading, lesson plans, things like that. Especially when you get to some of the higher grades, like secondary grades, there's a lot that can be required. Even just extracurricular stuff. So all of a sudden, you might have duty or some kind of obligation that you feel to like go to like the basketball games, go to the baseball games, go to the football games, like things that are not necessarily maybe always required, but that you feel like a requirement to go to. In addition to all like the grading and planning and things like that. Shifting administrators, like a lack of consistency from towards the teachers from the administrative side of things, like with those shifts and changes, that's kind of a lot. We talk about like teachers changing and things like that. But when you imagine how big of a deal it is in the last 5 years, we've kind of seen this from different sides, right? I changed a building. That was a big deal for me. Changed
Yeah.
a complete district and where I worked. That was a lot. That was a lot of effort on my part to then all of a sudden be in a new place and figure out how a new place worked. You watched a whole building get a new administrator, right? And like all the change that is for everybody in the building trying to figure it out. That's a lot. And so as districts think about things, think through how often you're switching around who's the administrator in what building, who's the principal in what building, because it kind of takes a toll, on the staff in the building. Changes in curriculum that seem like they're just never ending, right? You get one curriculum and you kind of get it down and give it 6 to 7 years and you'll for sure be in something different, it seems like. And that's a lot of effort too, and a lot of stress that comes with that. Shifts in teachers having to be moved around when districts, within a district based on like loads and factors, like those are things that come up and that are just natural that come up within every district, but it's stressful. I mean, that's stressful to all of a sudden have to change what building you're at and you didn't really have a whole lot of say in it or things like that. Not to mention just all of the things that come along with being a teacher where, you're either the best or the worst depending on the day. And a lot of parents have a lot of real strong feelings about how teachers are and what schools are doing and things like that anymore. It's a lot of stress that comes along with it.
Yeah, you kind of took a different approach than I did.
Let's hear it.
I was saying that I just think the emotional resiliency is really important because educators are leaving the field right now, and that recruiting teachers are really difficult right now. And so it's really important that we spend the time on the emotional security, and that we're talking about this and prioritizing this work right now because we want educators to stay in the field right now. All right, you want to give a list of some impacts, some suggestions or impacts that we have?
Yeah, you just want me to keep giving lists?
Do you want to hear my list first?
Yeah, let's hear your list.
Let's hear my list. Okay. PLC groups. We've a whole episode on that.
Yep.
Collective care. We've had episodes surrounding that. Giving teachers extra time. Distributed leadership builds a lot of emotional resiliency. Specific timely feedback to your staff, just as we call for teachers to do. And then make sure you work hard and play hard.
Yeah. Prioritizing building emotional capacity in your staff from like admin is what I said. And then underneath that, 2 things I said right away: PLCs,
Yep.
collective care events, right? Prioritizing those kind of things.
Boom.
So similar. Encourage open dialogue and feedback from staff to really gauge how people are doing and what they need. I think equipping staff to handle behavior at a tier 1 level. I know that's also something we just recently talked about. Partially, but I think that's a huge statement with lots that goes into it, but it's really kind of a game changer. I think the academics are really important to people, but I'd be willing to guess that your staff's academic strength is significantly higher than your staff's behavioral strength. If I just had to guess.
Yep.
Like almost across the board. And so that behavior side of thing then causes way more stress than the academic side of things for most staff members and most teachers out there. Not always, but I think it's a big one.
Teachers are quitting right now, mostly due to behavior and stress and low resiliency. Yeah. Like, it's a hard job.
Yeah. So people need to be trained, supported, and competent to handle tier 1 behavior issues. And that takes time and effort. Great place to start is all of the episodes that we have so far. So if you're wondering what to do about
Reel it back.
This would be a great way to go ahead and start with that.
All right. What do you want people to walk away knowing?
I think I want people to walk away knowing that if they want to figure out which episode is the 3rd episode that we were recorded in a day, they probably can guess almost every time.
Yeah.
Based off of how we are. No, I think that it's a fun game to play. Go back through and listen to all the episodes again and see if you know which ones are the 3rd one that we recorded on any given day. No, I think it's just really important to understand that the resilience, the emotional resiliency can be built. I think sometimes we just assume that however we are is how we are and that we can't improve and ourselves in various ways. And I just think the reality is that we can. There are obviously a lot of really concrete things that we can go about doing to increase our emotional resiliency. I think it was the last episode we talked about. I kind of ended it in a way that was very much like, you've got to actually do like work though. You can't just say like, that sounds great and then not do anything about it. Because if you do that, like nothing's going to change. Like it might change for like a week or two, but like that only carries you so far. You actually have to really do things and set plans in place that make things better. And so there's a lot of suggestions just in this episode of things that you can do. You don't have to do all of them. I would encourage you not to try to do all of them at once. I'd pick one though and try to start doing it for 10 minutes a day. Like, hey, every day at the end of the day, I'm going to write for 5 or 10 minutes about what my day was like. Or if you hate journaling, don't do that one, and say at the end of every day, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes, or I'm going to do this exercise for 10 minutes, or I'm going to, whatever the thing is. But you have to start somewhere to increase your emotional resilience, because it is wildly important that you be emotionally resilient yourself. Because again, going back to that quote that we both referenced from the article, you are setting the tone. It's you. You are the main thing that drives how your room runs.
And you're teaching kids. You're the model for how to have resiliency. Kids don't have resiliency because we have to model it as adults.
Yeah.
They learn from that. So, all right. I put for all the administrators out there, let's start taking care of our staff in a real way. Yeah. People say they do it all the time, and I don't know if there's real, authentic practices behind it. And then that comes with walking alongside them. That comes from developing them. That comes from creating systems that allow regulated adults to really be present in the classroom. So that's my takeaway.
That's good.
All right, you closing us out?
Oh, yeah, I will. Okay, I think that's, I didn't know if you were going to or not. Well, we appreciate you listening in, like always. Hopefully you found something that was useful. Hopefully this is a good reminder that beyond just all of the systematic things, that you're also a person. And you need to treat yourself like a person. And that means you need to offer yourself a lot of grace and understanding, and also hopefully expect a little bit more out of yourself as far as like your personal, taking care of yourself personally. Don't just teachers. There are a lot of professions. Teachers is one of them. Teaching is one of them, where you can put too much of yourself into it and pretty much get lost with your whole identity being it. I'd really recommend you not do that, and really understand that you should take the time to build up some of your emotional resiliency in yourself by taking care of yourself and figuring out ways to kind of systematically do that, I guess. If you found anything in here helpful, or if you were like, this was ridiculous, this is so bad, this episode was so bad, either way, you should share it with somebody to either share a laugh or to learn something alongside them. Either way is fine with us. And hopefully you're able to keep the conversation going and delve a little deeper into the conversation with whoever you happen to share this with. As always, we appreciate you listening, and let's go out there and do the work.
Let's go do it.